Hello, everyone, and welcome to our latest online event here at the University of California, Merced. My name is Ricky Hill. I am the e-recruiter here at UC Merced. A big welcome to all of you for joining us this evening. Our presentation tonight, as you see on your screen, is presenting yourself on the UC application. Before we get started, I will give you a couple of quick tips. If you need to adjust your audio settings, you can do that in the lower left corner of your screen. To adjust the size of your window, click on View Options in the upper portion of your screen. Lastly, and the most important thing I can share with you right now is to go ahead and use that Q&A button. Send us your questions and we will get to those either at the end during a live question and answer session or throughout the presentation behind the scenes. We are fully staffed with content experts to get to those questions tonight. Our presentation tonight is presenting yourself on the UC application. Right now, it is my great honor to send things over to my colleague, Nancy.
Thank you, Ricky. Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm so excited you're all here joining us tonight for presenting yourself on the UC application. I hope after this presentation, you can all have a little better idea on the UC application itself. I'd like to start off by introducing myself. My name is Nancy Olguin, and I am the Admissions Transfer Advisor for the South Central Valley. I'm also a transfer student from Merced College and a UC Merced alumni from the class of 2021. I was a student ambassador before graduating and I loved it. And since then I knew I wanted to continue in admissions. I'll now be passing it over to my colleague, Marceni.
Thank you, Nancy. Welcome, everyone. My name is Marceni Martinez, and I'm the Admissions Transfer Advisor for the Northern Central Valley Region at UC Merced. Community college students from the Modesto to Sacramento area. And a fun fact about me is that I was a transfer student from Modesto Junior College. Now I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Sheila, so she can introduce herself.
Thank you, Marceni. Hello, everyone. My name is Sheila Zhang, and I'm the Assistant Director of Transfer Initiatives for the Office of Admissions at UC Merced. Fun fact, I am also a UC Merced alumna, so class of 2015, and I majored in psychology when I attended UC Merced. So it's really great to be talking about the UC application and walk through the steps and process with all of you tonight. Let's go ahead and get started with the application workshop. All right, so in this slide here, it's a picture of the UC Berkeley campus. All right, so here is a screenshot of the different campuses that are open for undergraduate admissions. You'll be able to see the different locations for the UC campuses that are open to undergraduate students here. I know that many of you are preparing to apply to the UC campuses this fall. Some things to take into consideration is that we are all part of the UC system, which is one of the largest university systems in the world, offering undergraduate and graduate programs on campuses located across the state of California. The UC system is known for its medical centers as well as law schools. So we hope that this presentation will allow you to see what the UC application process looks like as you are preparing to apply to some of our UC campuses. Here is a brief application timeline of the fall application cycle and what it looks like. So for many of you, you might be working on your application now, but if you haven't started, the application actually opened in August, meaning that starting August, you can actually log in to the UC website to start your application and start filling out the different sections. If you did submit a tag, that should have been done in the month of September for fall admissions. This year, the UC application actually opened in October, so the beginning of this month. In the past, the UC application filing period was only open for November. So this year, you have 2 months to complete the application and submit it. And then between December and January, the UC has what's known as the Transfer Academic Update, or TAU. All transfer students who apply to the University of California must submit the TAU. Really what the TAU is it is an opportunity to submit your fall term grades and update your winter or spring summer planned coursework. So for example, in the TAU, you'll be providing us with those final grades that you received for the fall and any updates that have changed in your planned courses. Please know that the TAU is an important part of our review of your application, so completing the TAU by the designated priority deadline is definitely important. Next, between March through April, this is when you should be receiving your notification of your admission decision for the campuses that you have applied to. Please note that each campus does release admission decisions differently. So do check in with the campus that you are applying to see how they release decisions. If you are applying to UC Merced, we do release decisions on a rolling basis between March and April. All right, the next deadline is June 1st. June 1st is definitely an important deadline. This is the statement of intent to register, or the SIR deadline. During the SIR deadline, this is when you accept your offer of admission to only one UC campus. So really, this is you making that commitment to enroll at the UC campus that you want to. All right, and then for June to July, if you've been put on the wait list for any of the campuses that you've applied to, this is when you should receive the waitlist admission notification of your waitlist status for that campus. So I know that many of you may have already started preparing, but if you haven't yet prepared for the UC application, start considering your campus options based on your major. You want to make sure that you are doing research on the different UC campuses now and applying broadly across the system. It's really important to think about your major because it's going to impact the different types of courses you're going to take and the major preparation that's going to be needed. Some majors do have different names across the system. So biology might not be biology all around. It could be biological sciences or a different name. Definitely make sure that you are looking for the different names that your major could potentially be listed under for the campuses you are applying to. And then also note, not all majors are open for every term. So you definitely want to double check to see that the major you're interested in is open for the term that you are applying for. You want to make sure that you also get an unofficial copy of your transcripts. If you have attended more than one community college campus, you want to make sure that you have all of your unofficial copies of your transcripts available at the time of completing your application. There is going to be a coursework section that's going to ask you to input all of the courses you've completed from every single college or institution that you've attended. And you'll also need to put the letter grades received for those courses. You'll get to see later on in this presentation what that section looks like. And then start gathering materials and writing down your responses for the personal insight questions. You want to start brainstorming now. We'll briefly go over what these prompts look like, but it's probably a good idea to start thinking about the prompts that you want to answer and how you can use those prompts to share more about yourself in the application. And then last but not least, think broadly about your activities, awards, and work and volunteer experience beyond your community college. While we know that you may be involved on your community college campus, we also understand that many of you have jobs outside of school or are also involved with your family life. So think broadly about what you might be involved in outside of the classroom. In this slide here, we're going to talk about the importance of accurate details. Before you get started, you must thoroughly complete all sections of the application and do so accurately. You begin by reading the Statement of Application Integrity. There is going to be a link that's going to ask you to read the PDF of Statement of Application Integrity. This is really just to ensure that you are aware that you will need to report all courses and all information to the best of your ability, and you're not falsifying any information. Additionally, accuracy of details are really important. In terms of academic history, you must report all courses that you have completed from every single school or college that you've attended, as well as all grades that were received, even if these courses were repeated with passing grades. So just remember that in the academic history section, you need to report all courses that you have taken from every single institution with all grades that were received. The application will have additional comment sections after the academic history where you can use to explain anything that you like to provide details regarding your academic history or your coursework performances. This is an opportunity to talk about any letter grades or any courses that you want to share with us. And then you will also have your activities and awards section where you can talk about activities or awards that you have received throughout your college experience. All right, so before you start, do note that we do have resources that are available to help you prepare and get ready for the UC application. We've listed it here, but we'll go ahead and list the links later on in the chat for you all to see. But the UC does provide different resources for students to prepare. If you want to know what the requirements are, you can click on transfer admissions. If you want to know how to apply for financial aid, or if you are an international student needing more information on how to apply, you can go ahead and click on these links on the admissions website. We also have more information regarding campus programs and the contact for each program. So for example, if you are an undocumented student wanting information regarding undocumented services and programs at each UC campus, you can find this on the admissions website. And last but not least, the admissions website for the UC does have application tips, guides, and worksheets that you can download and use to help you as you are completing your UC application. Last but not least, we are active on social media. So if you do need any tips or would like to stay updated or connected with the UC application, we are active on Twitter. So follow us at UC_apply. Here's a picture of UC Merced. And with this picture, we're going to talk a little bit more about the requirements that are needed as a transfer applicant. So here are the requirements that are required for all students who are applying at the junior level standing. So as a junior level transfer student, you do need to meet the following minimum requirements for admission. First, you need to have the 60 semester or 90 quarter transferable units completed. Having 60 semester and 90 quarter units at minimum will put you at junior standing. The minimum GPA to be considered for admissions is a minimum of a 2.4 UC transferable GPA for California resident students. If you are a non-resident or international or out-of-state student, that GPA is actually 2.8 UC transferable GPA. And then last but not least, the 7-course pattern is part of the minimum requirements for all UC campuses. The 7-course pattern includes 2 courses in English composition, 1 UC transferable math, and 4 UC transferable courses from at least 2 courses in the arts and humanities, social and behavioral sciences, and physical and biological sciences. Please note that these are just the minimum requirements to be considered for admissions. However, meeting the minimum requirements may not actually be enough to gain admission to the campus of your first choice. So in this next slide here, we're going to take a look at some of the selection factors. All right. So a part of what goes into the review of your application is also known as selection factors. Campuses use multiple factors when we select students. The way in which campuses select students do vary, and it is your advantage to include as much information as possible on the application. We want to know about your experiences, accomplishments, and challenges of every, so it's really important to make sure that you're including as much information as possible. The selection factors that are considered in the application come down to major selection factors. This could be anything from major preparation courses to the GPA that's needed for your major. Non-academic factors, so really anything that you might be involved in, any extracurricular activities, completion of your UC English and your UC Math courses, completion of IGETC or general education breadth, and of course the transfer admission guarantee, so the tag. All of these things will be considered in the selection of your application. And once again, each campus will complete their own individual review of your application independently from one another. That means that each campus will review the information in the application and select students without asking what the other campuses have decided. So if you're wondering whether your admission decision at one UC campus is going to impact the other admission decisions that you might receive from other campuses, please know that each campus does complete their own review of your application. So the decisions are independent from one another. All right. And then last but not least, before we move on to the next slide, please note that for transfer students, two of the most important selection factors are the major preparation selection factors and GPA. So just a note there. All right. So we talked a little bit about how each campus has its own selection review and weighs different selection factors differently. Each campus also does a comprehensive review of your application. And so campuses may consider factors such as completion of major preparation, general education, breadth requirements, your GPA, special talents or achievements, and the context of your experience. In general, we want students to have strong grades and major preparation, but we also want you to have experience outside of the classroom, whether if that's being involved on campus or working or taking care of your family. In general, we are looking for students who are well-rounded. So we do have a comprehensive review that each campus does, and it's going to be different campus from campus. All right, so here's a picture of UC San Diego, and we just went over the minimum requirements, selection factors, and comprehensive review. So now let's take a look at kind of like the beginning of the UC application. Okay, so before you start the application, let's go over some basic system requirements. Please note that the UC online application works best with browsers such as Google Chrome 103 or newer, Microsoft Edge 103 or newer, and Firefox 102 or newer, as well as Safari 13 or newer. You want to make sure that your browsers are updated as well. That way they can support the UC online application. There are JavaScript and cookies that are embedded in the web pages of the application. Please make sure that you use JavaScript and cookies are enabled on your browser to allow you to complete the UC application. Most importantly, please note that since your information is provided on the UC application and some of this information is sensitive information, there is a 20-minute timeout security after 20 minutes of inactivity on the application. So if, for example, you're working on providing a response, but you haven't really moved forward past, that section, you may be timed out. So for things like writing your PIQs or even your additional comments section, it's always recommended that you get started on a Microsoft Word doc before you actually go in the application. That way you can just copy and paste and you don't get timed out. Please also note that there are character counts. So in the additional comments and the PIQs, there are character counts. You cannot exceed the character count. So for example, in the PIQs, if it's 350 words, you only have 350 words for writing that PIQ response. And then last but not least, please make sure to click save before you log off of your application. So make sure to click save and continue. That way you can save any progress that's been done on the UC application. So if you haven't created an account yet, this is what it would look like. First, you'll need to provide an email address, and then you'll need to confirm that email address. Please make sure that you use an email address that you check on frequently. We do communicate with students through email, so you want to make sure that you use an email address that you are constantly checking. And then after that, you'll need to make sure that you create a password that meets the password requirements here. For example, uppercase and lowercase letters, a number, and special character. Once you do that, you will be asked to review the statement that's listed here, and then you'll be asked to check a box to confirm that you have read the terms of use for the UC application. And then after you've checked that box off, you can create the account. In this slide here, this is a screenshot of the first kind of questions that will be asked as you are creating the application. The application is going to ask you for the start term at UC. This is where you will indicate the term that you are applying to UC or hoping to transfer with. So for many of you, that would be fall quarter or fall semester 2023. Next, you'll want to select the application level that applies to you. In this case, you'll select transfer, and then from transfer, you will select the term type that best applies to you. Please note that if you are applying from community college with all community college units, you are normally considered a junior level transfer regardless of the number of units you have. If you've barely just started and you have less than 60 semester or 90 quarter units of UC transferable coursework, you are considered a sophomore level transfer. Senior level transfer students are transfer students who have 90 semester or 135 quarter units or more by the time they enter UC. This normally applies to students who have upper division courses. Once again, if you are coming from a California community college with only California community college units, you are considered a junior level transfer student regardless of how many units you have from the community college. If you're unsure about which term type or transfer level you should be applying as, please reach out to our office and work with one of our advisors to determine this. All right, this is a picture of UC Santa Barbara. Now let's move on to the next section. All right, so on this slide here, we're going to talk a little bit about how to navigate through the UC application. In the UC application, the navigation bar is located on the right side of the screen as shown on the screenshot here. You can complete the application in any order, but please make sure that you first complete the About You section first, since it contains conditional logic that will be used throughout the application, meaning that this information will build on one another as you proceed through the different sections. On this slide here, when you complete the About You section, it's going to ask you for your name. You'll need to put your first given or legal name. Your middle name is not required. If you like to put your middle name, you can. And then you'll need to put your last name, family name, or surname. The UC application does have a section for you to indicate your preferred first name. So if you have a name that you prefer to go by for your first name, this is where you would put that preferred name. On this section here, it's still the About You section, but this will ask you for citizenship and residency. All applicants must select a country of citizenship from the drop-down menu. If you are a US citizen, it will follow up with a question whether you have tribal affiliation or not. This response, along with California residency status, determined by the Statement of Legal Residence Information, will determine if you qualify for the Native American Opportunity Program. If your country is a country other than the United States, you will have follow-up questions regarding permanent residency and/or visa status. If you are an undocumented student, your country of citizenship should be selected as no selection, and then you will need to follow the directions to provide a Social Security number below. Regarding Social Security number, all applicants who have a Social Security number are required to enter it. For students who identify as DACA participants or undocumented students, you will need to enter a valid Social Security number for work purposes, or ITIN if available. If it's not available, you can leave this section here blank. These are additional questions for the citizenship and residency for non-US residents. As you see here, you will need to indicate the country of citizenship, as well as your citizenship status, and whether or not you have a US Social Security number or a taxpayer identification number. All right, this is still the About You section. Now it's going to ask you for household information, where you will provide your home address, how many people live with you at your permanent address, your total income, and then how many people were supported by this income. So you'll need to provide this information. Entering this information helps us to better understand the family context of applicants who are applying to our campuses. All right, so this slide here is still the About You, but now it's going to ask for household sites. So once again, this will ask you for income regarding, ask you about information regarding family size and income, students, parents, and legal guardians, education, income, family size. And if you are a student who is over 24, you will not be asked for parental information. This view is really for students who identify as an independent student. All right. So this year, the UC will collect information on the application to help determine residency for tuition purposes. This section here is new for the UC application. So for the statement of legal residence section here, you'll want to choose whether you would like to be evaluated for California residency for tuition purposes or not. So please read through these statements listed here, and then you will select yes if you want to be considered for California residency for tuition purposes, or no if you do not want to be evaluated for California residency tuition purposes. Both options will require students to answer questions that would determine if they qualify for non-resident supplemental tuition exemption or a tuition waiver. This is the About You section again, and it is a statement of legal residence for undocumented students. So for undocumented students, you will be provided with questions that you need to answer as suggested above. You will need to provide additional information after admission to the campus registrar's office, wherever that is that you might choose to enroll for the UC. However, for the application, you will need to answer these questions that are shown here. All right, so that concludes kind of like the About You section. Now I am going to pass the mic over to Nancy to continue the rest of this presentation.
Thank you, Sheila. So I'll be going over some of the campuses and majors for the UC application. So on this slide, as you can see, this is the college view, which is a default view. So the majors are grouped within the colleges. As you can see on the red box, you can see the major as well as the alternate major. On the next slide, we'll be going over the category. So if you are not sure which college your major is in, you can opt for the category view. This is a view for selecting campuses and majors within the category. So always do your research when you're applying to see which campus as well as the major that is in the category for each campus, since they are a little different in each one. On the next slide, we'll be talking about the alternates. So within the campus, you can select a major as well as an alternate major. If you select both majors, a major and an alternate major, if it is available, keep in mind that alternate majors are sometimes not available at every campus. If a campus is unable to offer you a place in the first choice major, they may consider you for the alternate major. So be sure that the alternate major is within the subject area that you really want to study. And then in some cases, of course, the study major that you are interested in will be your primary major. Again, not all campuses will consider you for the alternate major, and some campuses might have restrictions on changing majors once you are admitted to that major as well. So this is an example from UC Santa Barbara using the category view for engineering and computer science. On the next slide, for San Diego, it is a little different compared to the other UCs. So if you are applying to UC San Diego, you must rank all of the colleges in order of your preference to have the best chance of the assignment for the college of your choice. The order of the ranking of the colleges doesn't affect the chances of admission to UC San Diego. The boxes in the ranking of the colleges only appear once you have clicked the Learn More About UCSD college system, and that pop-up will, the window pop-up will appear. You should also be careful reading the information provided to understand the theme of each campus at UC San Diego before ranking your colleges. So a helpful tip is to always do your research before choosing the campus, just to make sure that the major that you intend to go into is offered at that UC campus. The next slide is a picture of UC Riverside. Continuing is the UC TAP account, so the Transfer Admission Planner. It is very popular for the UC application. So if you have created a UC TAP account and you entered your academic information into the UC TAP account, a feature on the admission application allows you to import all of your courses and grades. So the information is updated daily each morning with the previous day's data. Changes made today in the UC tab will not be reflected in the data imported on that same day. So make sure that your UC TAP account is always updated with the most current grades, units, or any other information. Once you import your TAP academic record into the application, any further information added into that UC TAP will not be reflected in the application. You can edit the information directly on the application. In order to input all of your coursework, you must use your UC ID and your email address from the UC TAP account when starting the UC admission application. On the next slide, we'll be talking about the colleges attended. So transfer applicants, you must provide information from all of the college or universities that you have attended, including institutions located outside of the US. Once this information is added, all of the school information will appear in the table for reviewing and editing. You can also search for the school by name, city, or college code. It is really, really important for you to input all of the colleges that you have attended, because if you don't input all of the grades or the colleges, it can deem as falsification. On the next slide is a little more information about the academic history. So when you select the dates of attendance, the grading system and the level of degree or certification received would be on this slide. The dates of attendance should be entered as consecutive dates, even if enrolled was interrupted. For example, the first month and the year of attendance through the last month and year of attendance. So for example, if you came in fall 2021 and you finished in spring 2023, that's what you want to put in, even if you didn't take a class during the summer. Students earning the associate degree for transfers will provide this information along within the name of the major as well. You can also indicate here on the term system if it has changed. So if you went from a quarter to a semester or a semester to a quarter. Next slide. This is the terms attended. So the application is built on a conditional logic where the questions are generated from information entered by the applicant. So this is your chance to review the terms of attendance and the grading system as well. When applicants do not select a term attended by the system, it will deem that as a gap in education. So the application will show up as a gap later on in the application, and you can go over and explain why there was a gap in education at that time. We will go over this in a few slides as well, in a few slides later on as well. So it will show up, just be careful, if there wasn't a gap in education and this pops up, you can go back and fix if it needs to be. Next slide, please. So assist, it is very popular for the UC application as well as our transfer students. So you should use the unofficial transcript to ensure that you report the correct term as well as the course number, the title, the units, and the grade that you received for each course. The grade codes are also listed right above, and you should only report the academic renewal, which is the AR, as a grade if the academic renewal has already been approved and appears on the transcript. So those codes will appear to make it a little easier for the students and choose if it is correct or not. You can also select the class that you've taken, the course, as well as the unit. So make sure that you are inputting the correct courses. Next slide, please. So if you don't see your course, you can always enter it manually as well. A helpful tip is to have your unofficial transcript open with you. That way you can see if you're inputting the course correctly. And if it doesn't appear, you can always input it manually. So for the California Community College students, the transferable course list for the California Community Colleges are pulled directly from ASSIST database. Each department can be expanded to display the transferable courses by clicking on the plus sign. For non-California Community College students, the UC doesn't have a transferable course list for the colleges or university other than community colleges. So the students, you must all type in the department name, the course number, the course title, as well as the unit value, and then select the grade that you earned for that course. And of course, for all students, you must enter all courses given, even if you believe that they're not transferable, or if you don't want credit from them, or if you believe that the old grades won't reflect on your current academic abilities, as well as academic renewal or incomplete grades. or if you even withdrew from a course or later repeated it. So missing or inaccurate information may be viewed as falsification and result in a cancellation of your UC application from all UC campuses. So it is very important that you implement all of your courses that you have taken, even if you think they won't be transferable. If you don't, your UC application might be canceled. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned previously, the enrollment gap, this is when you'll have a chance to explain why you had a gap in education. So if there isn't a gap in education, you will be prompted to explain why you are not enrolled. If you made an error and didn't enroll during an identified gap term, then you must go back and adjust the dates and terms of attendance at the appropriate college, and then enter the coursework attempted or you completed. So if you did have a gap in education, this would be the time for you to explain. If you have a gap in education, it will not affect your admission decision. We just want to know what was the reason and what were you doing at that time. And keep in mind that you do have a word count, so keep the reasoning within the word limit. So this slide goes over the UCE and UCM. So if the coursework you entered indicates that you have met the minimum English, so 2 English courses as well as 1 math course requirement for the transfer to a UC, you will not see this on the screen. So if you have the coursework that appears to be missing that is required for English or math courses, you'll need to indicate your plan to complete those courses on this screen as it shows on the screenshot. So this screen will appear even if you are using an AP class, an AP course, or an IB exam score to meet any English or math requirement. In that case, you should mark this as completed with the C grade or better. So this is the time for you to indicate if you have met that English or math requirement. If you haven't, then you can also put in what you plan to do to complete that English and math requirement for the UC application. It is very important as well. On the next slide, this would be the academic history. So this is an additional information for you to include anything that we may have missed. So you can disclose any terms on academic probation. This will not disqualify you if you have been on academic probation from being admitted. Staff just wants to look, or the admission staff just want to look at this section for an explanation on abnormalities within the student record. So this is not an extra like PIQ. This is just a comment box for academic history comments. So keep that in mind. It is not a PIQ. This is just for you to input any additional information based on your academic history. So this is a picture of UCLA. On the next slide, I'll be talking about the test scores for English proficiency. So after the academic history section, you will need to enter any test scores that you may want to or need to report. So this screenshot here shows if you're an international student, you can enter any test, foreign language or international English language testing system scores. For the students whose college or university coursework was not conducted in English and who are not a native English speaker are required to self-report these courses from an acceptable English language proficiency test. In the application, students can use scores from specific sections like the SAT or ACT to satisfy English proficiency in these exams. The official English proficiency scores are not required unless a student is offered admission to the UC. So you will need to submit the official scores directly to the campus when you are intended to roll. On the next slide is the activities and awards. So I know I was seeing a few questions based on this. So there are 6 categories for the activities and awards section on the application. You can choose from experiences to having, illustrated interest as well as demonstrating leadership. So for the other coursework, the academic courses that don't fit through the A through G, so history, social sciences, English, math, science, English, anything like that, can be reported on this section as well. And then for the educational preparation programs, so those include AVID, Upward Bound, Puente, Umoja, Gear Up. So any of the educational preparation programs can be listed on here too. A list of the common programs also appear on a drop-down menu. If a program is not included, you can always manually enter it as well. For community service, this is consistent participation over time and can indicate commitment and dedication as well. Any work experience that you have done demonstrates time management, responsibility, and even leadership, as well as awards and honors. So if you received an award, if you won in a countywide, statewide, nationwide, or in a higher level of achievement, will put you with significant competition. School-based awards are more meaningful as well. So if you placed 5th out of like 500 applicants and earn an award, you should indicate that as well. So any awards that you have received as well as honors previously, you can add those on there as well. And then extracurricular activities, these are continuing participation over time. So it includes like a passion of yours, a commitment, and even leadership as well. And you want to enter all of those details in each activity. Some tips for you in this section is don't use any acronyms. So if you were involved in a club, don't put the club acronym, spell out the whole club name. That way we don't know what that club basically means. We want to know the whole word of it. And then as well, you'll be able to explain a little detail of it in the later slides. Also list some of the activities in multiple areas. You can't list multiple activities in multiple areas. So if you had honor society, you can't put it in both awards and honors and extracurricular activities. You can only include it in one section. On the next slide will be scholarships. So all UC campuses offer scholarships for students who meet specific criteria. The applicant should review each scholarship choice and select all of those that match your characteristics, interest, and background. Before, there used to be a limit on the amount of scholarships that you can apply for, but now there is no limit. So if you think you match any of the descriptions for these categories, go ahead and apply. Excuse me. So research or other campus-based scholarships in the link provided at the bottom of the screen, as well as undergraduate scholarships for the UC application, is a website that you can find more of information on all of these scholarships as well. I highly, highly recommend for all of you to apply to as many as you can. For transfer students, you already have a category or a section on these scholarships, so take advantage of all of them. Also keep in mind that this is apart from FAFSA, so you will still need to complete FAFSA or the California Dream Act and then apply to these scholarships as well. On the next slide, the personal insight questions. So transfer students, you must answer one of the required questions, and then you can answer 3 other questions as well. So you need to answer 3 additional questions and the required question for our transfer students. Each question has a maximum word count of 350 words. So if you exceed that 350 limit, you will not be able to see it. We will not be able to see it. And make sure what you are writing is within that word limit. I highly recommend for you to write out your PIQ responses on a Word doc, on a Google Doc, or any other document. That way you can keep count of the word limit, as well as not time out on the 20-minute inactivity part, because this also includes the PIQs. Remember that the PIQs are not an English essay. We want to learn more about you and what makes you unique. So I would use words like, I did this, I chose to do this, I learned about this. And also keep in mind about the 20-minute timeout, because if If you are typing it on the PIQ section while you're on the UC application, it will log you out and you will lose all of your hard work. So I highly recommend for you to just copy and paste it from another Word doc. On this next slide, this screenshot here shows the PIQ questions. So like I said, transfer students, you are required to answer one of the questions. It is on the red box. And then below that, you will see the other questions where you can choose 3 of the questions that you would like. In the other slide, each question is given of equal value. So there is no right or wrong way that you can answer these questions. We just want to know more about you and your personality as well as your interests. And then some tips for you as well. Avoid listing any courses taken on here. Focus on any experiences in and out of the class that show your interest in the major or field that you want to go into, and as well as discuss how you have taken initiative into learning more about the major or the field and greater knowledge and depth as well. So this isn't an English essay. We just want to learn more about you, and please don't include any of your courses beforehand. That can be on the additional comments in the academic history that I mentioned before. So now I will be passing it over to my colleague Merced, who will be going over the reviewing and submitting of the application.
Thank you, Nancy. Before submitting the application, students will have the opportunity to review each section. A check mark appears beside the section to indicate that the section is complete. Here is your chance to review all of the information you've entered into the application. If you've skipped or missed any required questions, you'll see a to-do button next to the page below. Before you submit your application, you should review all of the pages and sections below, even if they are marked as completed. Remember that we want to learn as much about you as possible. So it's a good idea to fill out as much as you can and review all of the information you'll be sharing with us. Next, let's go over the missing coursework. If students are missing information, this warning will appear. Completed sections will have a check mark. The sections that are missing information will not have a check mark. Students can navigate directly to the sections with missing information and update it. I would like to add that sections that are optional will not show up on this part. So again, before you can submit your application, you will need to correct any errors or fill out any missing information. To make any changes, go to the pages with the to-do next to them and click on the button. In the next slide, we'll go over the gaps in education. Like Nancy mentioned previously, applicants must explain all gaps in education for each term not enrolled. If you do not address this earlier in your application, it will prompt you here again. Please note that this part here is to help admission representatives understand your full educational and life context. It's not to disqualify you from being admitted. For instance, if you are a student that graduated in 2010 and have taken a 10-year gap, this is where you would want to explain why you have taken the bigger gap in your education. Note that this section here only allows you up to 240 characters, so briefly explain your reason for this gap in your education. And you can include what you did or what you plan to do during that time. Below that is where you verify units and applicant level. Again, junior level transfer students must have a minimum of 60 semester units or 90 quarter units. The application does a quick estimate of units to verify whether the student has sufficient units for the level they have applied to. Please note that this tally does not include AP, IB, or A level exams. If a student forgot to add something, they can go directly back to the academic history to add courses or units. Now let's go over the billing summary and fee waiver. On this section, you'll be able to review your campus selections and application fees. For U.S. citizens or permanent resident students, the application fee is $70 per campus. For international and non-immigrant applicants, the application fee is $80 for each campus selected. If an international or non-immigrant student currently attends school in the U.S., however, they may be eligible to pay the lower application fee of $70 per campus. The application tool will advise the fee amount on this page. Now, the fee waiver is automatically calculated for California and domestic residents. The fee waiver calculator is activated from answers from the applicant's family size and income. If a fee waiver is granted, the applicant must select yes to accept the fee waiver. If the applicant decides not to answer those questions, they may qualify for a fee waiver, but will not receive one. If the applicant makes a mistake on the family income amount, they can correct the information with an edit button and eligibility for the fee waiver, and then it will automatically recalculate the revised information. In addition to the fee waiver eligibility, for US citizens or permanent residents or students who have attended a high school for the last 3 years, if students meet the low income criteria used to qualify for free and reduced lunch, they will qualify for a UC application fee waiver for up to 4 campuses, but they will be responsible to pay for any additional campuses that they apply to. Also, students in California on a visa are not eligible for the UC application fee waiver. Moreover, UC also accepts EOPS or NACAC fee waiver. However, only one waiver may be used. Under the payment section, the application fee payment is required and is non-refundable. So again, the application will automatically know if you qualify for a fee waiver based on the income and family size the student has reported. The payment may be submitted by credit card in the application tool or by mailing a check or fee waiver if a student didn't qualify for the UC application fee waiver but meets criteria established by the waiver provider. Moving on to the next slide, let's go over the submission confirmation. As mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, students should keep their application ID in a secure place because this will be used throughout the admissions process, including decision release occurring in the spring. This screen will show the complete list of campuses applied to, fees, fee waiver, application ID, date submitted, and the payment method. I recommend that you keep a copy of your submission confirmation and your application. You can do so by clicking on print a receipt and or view and print your application. Again, you will want to keep both of these documents for your records. And lastly, you will also receive an email with information. In the next slide, the application cannot be submitted without the applicant's electronic signature and acknowledgement of the statement of integrity. So as you can see here, there are some release authorizations that if the student agrees with the statement below, they will check the box next to it. Please note that these conditions are all optional and not agreeing will not affect your admissions to the university. However, not agreeing with the condition may have other consequences. So please read each one carefully. And again, you can log back into your application at any time to change these preferences. The statement of integrity is to affirm that all information in the application is accurate and that the personal insight responses were written by the applicant. If the information is withheld, such as poor grades or falsification is detected, the application is subject to cancellation. So overall, again, by submitting this application, you authorize the University of California to release applicant information, including copies of your applications to any UC campus for admissions or scholarship consideration. In the next slide, on this part of the application, students can see their application status. They are also able to see when their application was forwarded to the campuses, as well as where students can access the transfer academic update, also known as a TAU form when it's available. Once your application is submitted, you can only make a few changes to your application, including updating your contact information and your exam scores. You can also apply to additional campuses if they are still open. To make any of these changes, go to application status. Please note that updates can be made here until November 30th. I would also like to mention that minor changes to activities, awards, volunteer work, employment, or personal insight responses are unlikely to have an impact on the admission decision. However, if a student has significant updates in any of these areas, they should contact each campus directly. Now let's move on to the transfer academic update section in the application. All transfer applicants are required to submit a transfer academic update. You must provide your final grades from the previous terms and list all courses in progress or planned for the term before you expect to enroll. Even if you do not have any in progress or planned courses and your academic record was complete in your original applications, you still must complete the transfer academic update. The TAU allows students to enter fall grades and list courses in progress or planned. Students must still submit a TAU by January 31st to ensure the application receives full consideration. Any TAU submitted after the priority deadline of January 31st may not be considered. Let's continue to the transfer academic update on the next slide. If a student is not currently enrolled, they would enter an explanation in the comment box. If a student is currently enrolled, then they will submit grades for fall 2022 courses and confirm or update the winter and spring courses. On this section here, students will enter the date of when they started to attend this college. Let's say that you started MJC in fall of 2020 and then stopped, but later came back for spring 2022. You will put that you started MJC in the fall of 2020 and that you came back later on for the spring of 22. In this example here, the student attended Evergreen Valley College from August 2020 to May 2023. Then you will select this if it's your most recent college, and you will also be able to enter the college grading system. If the college grading system is A, B, C, D, F, and no plus or minus, this is where you will enter that information there. If the college does have plus or minuses, you will be able to enter the information as well later on. Okay, let's move on. Again, just a reminder that this needs to be submitted by January 31st. Students can go back and revise information later on, but they need to submit the most important information by January 31st. Under the courses and grades section, students will be able to enter all of their courses and grades that they have received. So please note that the TAU only includes changes related to the current academic year, starting with the last completed term. Please make sure to report all of the courses you enrolled in and the grades you received for each college and term. Include withdrawals, incompletes, and courses you may plan to repeat at a later date. I will also add that students should enter their grades as soon as they have them, and also make sure to update everything. On the next slide is where students will enter their information about minimum requirements. The minimum requirements are academic standards that students must attain in order to be considered for admission to the UC system. Students will need to tell UC whether they will complete the entry-level writing requirement prior to transfer. Students will also need to tell if prior to transferring they will be certified for IGETC. Then students are able to enter their courses that are fulfilling the 7-course pattern. And just a reminder, prior to transferring, you still need to complete the 7-course pattern. If these courses are completed with grades of C or better, you will fulfill the transferable college course requirement. Moving on to additional information on the next slide. Students must be in good standing at any prior UC campus they attend, as well as at their last school of attendance. I do want to mention that indicating yes for academic probation does not automatically disqualify a student for admission. Right here is an additional comments section box. If there's anything else you want the reader to know about your academic record, you can do so in the space provided here. But remember that you should only use the space if you want to describe anything that you did not have the opportunity to include elsewhere in this section of the application. This box here is where you can write about having a break in attendance, poor grades in a particular course or year, or any specific information about your school environment or policies that affected your academic record or choices for classes. Before you hit submit, make sure you certify accuracy and that you agree with the above statements and that they are correct. Last but not least, let's go over submission confirmation in the next slide. On this section of the application, it will show when you submitted your application, and you will also be able to view the confirmation of completion for the TAU. Please remember that you should check email frequently because admission representatives from campuses may ask for additional information or clarification of information on the TAU. In the next slide, finally, here's a slide with the contact information for the UC Application Center. Information about contacting the Application Center is available on the login page of the application. So when students log back into their page, they will see this information here. Students can also get this information by clicking on Help on their application. On the side here, you can also see their hours of operation and their contact information. If you have your phone with you, take a picture of this so you can keep it. And with that being said, this is the end of the presentation. We will now take the time to answer any of the questions you may have.
Yes, thank you so much, Marceni, Nancy, and Sheila. What a fantastic and information jam-packed presentation we had tonight. I actually think we got to all of our incoming questions with all of our fast fingers behind the scenes. So we actually don't have any other questions to answer for you tonight because we did get back to all of you already. Before we do our quick wrap up here, I do just want to give you a couple of quick reminders. Tonight's presentation has been recorded, so it will be available for you online. We will drop that link for you to our YouTube channel into the chat box, and you'll be able to review this in just a couple of days, probably early next week. And like all of our events, you can see all of the instant replays on the YouTube channel. There's also a very helpful events page where you can get registered for other upcoming events. We have many more coming that are similar to this, walking you through the admissions application and lots more great information, including financial aid and other topics. All right, one other reminder, if you have not yet set foot on our beautiful campus, we are now offering campus tours 7 days a week. We will now drop that link for you as well into that chat box so that you can go ahead and get yourself registered 7 days a week. You must be able to find a chance, right, to come and set foot on this beautiful campus. It is high tech. We have doubled in size over the last couple of years. You definitely do not want to miss out on your chance to do that. Once again, my name is Ricky Hill. This has been so much fun with you here tonight. Again, we had so much information to share with you, but we hope that you definitely enjoyed your time with us tonight and got all of those important questions answered. If for some reason you did not, you do know how to reach us on that last slide, so feel free to reach out at any time. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you at a future event. Have a great night, everyone.